Thanks again for having us in your home. And very quickly, we'd like to start by you laid the foundation for Nigeria's democratic journey since 1999, and it's been unbroken since then. From your assessment from our democratic journey, how would you rate the performance this far?
Well, thank you very much indeed. By and large, I would say we are making progress. You know, nation building is a slow process, and having come out of a military regime that lasted for quite some time, it will take time for the democracy to gain its roots. But by and large, I'm glad so far we have how many years of unbroken 20 years of democracy. And you could see from 1999, the democratic process and the electioneering process is getting better by the year. So I must say that I think we're doing great.
Okay. All right. Some people would like to understand this. Of course, we just saw what happened in Sudan, and there's how were you able to pursue your agenda for transferring power to a democratically elected government, even when a lot of people were in doubt that that was was going to happen? Because there was, of course, a lot of interplay. I'm sure a lot of people will be, is it going to be? Because I mean, it's important to understand what were some of the motives, what were some of the things, what did you see ahead that made you say, look, I think it's important that we introduce something that is going to, democratic rule at the end of the day.
Well, thank goodness that what my colleagues and I did at that time is still holding. Well, by the time Destiny brought me into the leadership of this country, Nigeria was really at precipice. Even the military itself, they were at each other's throats, and we thought, hey, let's draw back and see what do our people want. They wanted democracy. They have been promised democracy. Now is our time to see how we can really deliver that promise. Me and my colleagues, some of us fought in the Civil War. And me and some of my colleagues, we have been in peacekeeping operation for the United Nations. We have seen how political conflict has torn the countries apart. And we sat down and said, look, enough is enough. Let's not visit this to our country. Let's see how we can now hand over to uh, the politicians so that really we can have a united Nigeria. I think that was the driving force behind our action.
As one of Africa's prominent leaders, how would you rate? What's your general assessment of democracy in the continent so far?
Well, unfortunately, what is happening in some parts of Africa is I'm not too comfortable. Here we have leaders all over the continent who want to perpetuate themselves in the rulership of their country. They are arguing of continuity so that they can deliver. And you could see quite a number of them trying, or they have tried and changed the constitution so that they could stay longer. I believe that is not very encouraging. There is a constitution which specifies how long a president or a prime minister is going to stay in that country. And I think if that constitution has not been applied, the people who are trying to change that constitution to perpetuate themselves wouldn't be there in the first place. So I think, again, here are the problems the continent is facing, that people want to change the constitution so that they can perpetuate themselves. I don't think we need that in present dispensation. We should obey and abide by the constitution of our various countries.
All right. Before we get back to my colleague, I'd like to draw your attention to a very key project that you've been involved in the last two, of course, prominently in the last two elections. You and your members of your committee, the peace committee, had actually driven a peace process that the whole world is actually commending. I would like to know what were some of the specific examples of how the committee helped in stabilizing the country? I'm sure during the elections, because there are lessons to be learned from by other countries. With what your committee did in Nigeria.
Well, there have been various stages of our involvement. One, during the campaigning, we observed that during campaign there is a lot of campaign of calumny. A lot of insults are being thrown to opponents, and we don't think that is necessary. We believe that a party should concentrate on campaigning on their manifesto and what they can deliver to the people, not to start castigating their opponents. This brings bad blood, and from that bad blood, you will see conflicts between the various supporters, which eventually will lead to clashes, which will eventually lead to conflict. So we concentrated during the election campaign to ask the contestant and the political leaders to abide by certain rules and regulations, in that they strictly address issues, not to go on personal vendetta. I think that's one aspect. And thank goodness that by and large, most of the political actors, they abided by that what they signed. They tried as much as possible also to make sure that their political party supporters and their supporters all over tried as much as possible to abide by what they. So we had really, to say, less violent campaign like what has been happening in the previous years. That's right. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Before I let her come back in, considering, of course, Nigeria thrives on a lot of emotional politics, and you find that ensuring peaceful elections and transition process in the country can be very herculean. Can you share some of your style of engagement that yielded tremendous results so that African countries can learn? Because beyond the pre, during, and post election, of course, we saw you engage them
All right.
post election.
Well,
But there are specific models that you adopted with your team that you can also recommend for other countries that are looking to see how they can include this in the political process.
well, you see, election and electioneering involves everybody, every citizen, from the electoral commission to the voters to everybody, has a role to play. So it is. I'm happy that in Nigeria, people are now getting wiser. They are trying to ensure that right candidates are put forward as candidates to be elected. So we engage the political parties. First, we engage the electoral commission to ensure that they abide by the constitutional rules of the election, to be free and fair and fair, to do justice to all and sundry. Also, we engage the political parties. Also, in their own party, also they must practice democracy like they want to be elected. They must avoid imposition of candidates. Everybody has a role to play, so they must allow every politician, every one of their members to play the role they can play. Now, again, the voters. We have to engage quite a number of them through the political parties themselves. One, for the voters to run away from malpractice. Malpractice such as selling their votes. Try to avoid violence and make sure that you elect your candidate of your choice, not that you are induced in any form to elect somebody whom you don't feel will represent you. So by and large, we engage the electoral commission, we engage the political parties, we engage the voters. We also interact with NGOs who also help in educating and voter education and so. So through this process, I think this is how the Peace Committee has been working. And again, we have been assisted also by international communities whom we are working. That's right.
Nigeria is currently battling with insecurity issues in several parts of the country. From your viewpoint, can you please share with us what you think could be a lasting solution to our insecurity issues?
Well, it's unfortunate that not only Nigeria, the world is in crisis. It's in turmoil. You can see everywhere there are crises here and there. Now, Nigeria specifically, I think security is everybody's business, every Nigerian. The security agencies cannot be in every inch of territory of Nigeria. So the citizen, all of us, have a role to play. What role you as a citizen can do? One, to help in disseminating, in giving information to the authorities. You have seen AYZ, you are suspecting his involvement in wrongdoings. Two, to ensure that you also as a person, you obey the laws of the country. Because it takes two to tango. There are rules and regulations set up by the government. You must ensure that you on your own part, you obey those rules and regulations. Common example, it hurts me when you see, for example, a Nigerian coming to traffic light. He doesn't obey the traffic light. And if care is not taken, when he's going on red, somebody who's going on green, you have an accident. Now, about the security situation, again, the authorities have to provide an enabling environment where citizens will find themselves useful engagement. The government cannot employ everybody, so they must provide an environment where a private citizen can do his private business to ensure there is energy for people, to ensure there is enough security people patrolling the area and enforcing law and order. Two, to prosecute those who have been found criminals, and to try as much as possible to see the proliferation of arms is curtailed. So these are some of the measures I think we can do to ensure that we bring some semblance of safety and security to our people.
You serve on the board of directors for the Nigerian Centenary City project. Can you please share with us the vision behind the city and progress possible?
Well, the Centenary City is a dream of the previous administration to see how they can uh, um, bring a development like in other countries where symbolically you can identify an area with a country. For example, like Dubai, this tower, what is it called? The Dubai Tower. In France, you have got the Eiffel Tower. In America, you have got the Liberty and so on. I think this was the thinking when the then government was celebrating our centenary celebration. So they came up with this an idea. Why don't we try and sort of develop a mega area to show the representation of Nigeria, to set up a presidential archive or library or whatever, so that it becomes a center of history and also a center of excellence. So far, yes, the centenary say has some stumbling blocks, but thank goodness it is over now. Work is in progress.
Right. Of course, the question I'm actually going to ask now is directly related to seven, and of course, and six. Sorry, 7 and 6. Africa is home to the youngest population all over the world. I think about 50 to 55% of our population in Africa as a continent are between the ages of 18 to 25. And of course, Nigeria has the largest deposit of young people. How can the continent's young people be better equipped for political leadership? Because we've seen a situation where there's been a clamor for a greater representation for young people. But the argument has always been that the young people that our leaders have interacted with do not have the requisite knowledge or the wherewithal to take the continent or the country to where the destination it deserves. But there's also the argument that if they are not given the opportunity, then how are they going to learn how what it takes to drive the process. So what in your estimation should be done, or how can we equip our young people to for political leadership or leadership as it were generally?
Well, I think already our young people in Africa are really equipped, and they're getting equipped in the sense that the younger generation, people like you, are one, more educated than us, the older generation. You are more exposed internationally than us, the older generation. So there is, if you look at, like you say, in the whole of Africa, you can see there quite a number of young Africans bringing change in their own ways. You could see one or two examples. Let's see Sudan. Let's see Algeria. You can see the action of the younger generation who have come out to demand such things that they think are wrong, to demand that the political situation in those countries should be changed for the better for the youth. So I believe there is hope. And I'm very, very pessimistic that, optimistic that the younger generation will soon be the leaders of Africa to take Africa to the dreamland we all hope to. Yes. Okay, yes, you might say it. There are problem in the political process in developing countries. Politics is very expensive and so on. But by and large, a lot of African countries, even the politicians themselves, are looking at the ways and means how this can be less cumbersome, how it can be less expensive. I'm absolutely sure if you take Nigeria, the last 20 years since we came out of the military rule, of recent in the between 2015 and 2019, you have seen where in Nigeria even the parliament or the Senate and the House of Reps have taken into consideration and reducing the age for the not too young to run, and this has been assented by the president who signed. So you can see that the young ones are being encouraged, and you could see during the last election in Nigeria, I was very, very impressed about the presidential debate or the gubernatorial debate where you see the young ladies and young men coming to argue why they think they should be gay, they should be. I think this is a plus for Africa and plus for Nigeria. I have hope that 10, 20 years, the young should be the leaders in this our continent.
All right. You led the Commonwealth Observer Mission to Pakistan recently.
Yes.
And I'm sure you must have seen so much. How would you compare the process, the political process, to Nigeria's experience from your assignment?
You know, it was very interesting to go to Pakistan. Pakistan, for God knows what, they have been dominated by two political families, so to speak. So those two political families have been extending baton. One time this is Prime Minister Bhutto, then the other one Benazir. They keep, but exchanging. But suddenly now here is a newcomer who has come in. Now this newcomer has been elected as the Prime Minister.
Okay.
So it was quite an interesting. And here, back home here, we were used to our choice of leadership was restricted. But yes, but you can see in the last dispensation, the last election, we have 78 political parties, and I think although people will argue that that is too large a party, but again it shows you the democratic field in Nigeria is open widely. Of course, by and large, these political parties will find their level, and you will see them merging to get a stronger hold on the politics. So these are the experiences between Pakistan, and that is affecting also Nigeria.
All right. Finally, from me, that my colleague here, what would be your message to Nigerians as we enter, of course, our 20th year of unbroken democracy, and as we go forth as a nation?
Okay. The first, we must have peace in our country. We must ensure that there is peace. And each and every one of us has a role to play in maintaining that peace. Two, the politicians. They should play politics without bitterness. They should play politics with the people they want to represent at heart. They should think about the country. Having won the election, they should try to see the development of our nation. And as we go along, the citizens should also demand their right from the people they elected. They should hold them accountable for the promises they made and to ensure that they deliver. And also, we should, as much as possible, try to cut down the cost of politics. It is very, very expensive, especially in developing countries, more in Nigeria. I want to believe we should look at to bring out a legislation where we cut the limit of campaign funding, and also not only to cut the limit, to ensure that it is enforced. The political parties should also ensure that these rules that are made for the benefits of the politicians are applied in total.
All right, thank you very much. The peace message is central theme of our interview today, and we'll be sure that our readers and of course subscribers across the globe get it very well. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. If you don't mind, we will do the presentations now afterwards.
Thank you very much.